Okay, hi. I am recording a video for I had a fan question. So it's Pluto's sesquiquadrate Venus in synastry. So first of all, I don't know how much astrology you know. So I'm not gonna act like you don't know any because from what you said you do know some. So if you don't know something about Pluto, what it means, or Venus, or whatever else, the different parts of this aspect in the houses and whatever else information you gave me, then ask me or look it up somewhere on my YouTube channel or somewhere else. So anyway, from what you asked me, you're wondering about Pluto, how it's going to impact this aspect for you too. So first of all, Pluto or Venus or whatever else is always going to be Pluto or Venus or whatever other planet is in the aspect in synastry. So it's never going to be some flowery thing with Pluto, like, some easy aspect or whatever. But the aspect sesquiquadrate in itself is what you have to keep in mind. That is the the vehicle of the what's going on, It isn't Pluto. It's not one of the planets that is in control of the whole situation. It's the aspect. And in the house where it is. So your Venus, that's lover, what you value is the conversation, part of the conversation that you need to keep in mind for this. What you value. So in the 8th house, I think you said it was, your Venus. That's like a Venus in Scorpio. This 8th house is Scorpio. His Pluto in Scorpio, which is all of our generation. Unless you're 12 or more years older than him, you're going to have the same Pluto as him. So we're all kind of Pluto and Scorpio-ish. Pluto rules Scorpio. So Pluto being in the 9th house is going to give you a Jupiter higher wisdom kind of relating. Him doing that. Pluto in Sagittarius. It's not Pluto in Sagittarius or Venus in Scorpio because that isn't what it is, but it's Venus in the 8th house. That is the Scorpio house. So you're going to have a flavor of Venus in Scorpio to you. He will have a Pluto in Sagittarius or a Pluto ruled by Jupiter flavor to him, his Pluto stuff. So Sagittarius being, all happy-go-lucky and, oh, this isn't working out, so let's move on to the next thing. And higher wisdom or knowledge or, education, that kind of stuff. There's going to be a part of him that's going to be like reacting in a inner demons is Pluto. So inner demons in Jupiter, Sagittarius, 9th house kind of way. It's going to be like, let's communicate with wisdom here about our inner demon stuff. You, Venus and Aries person, are extremely Scorpio-ish because your Venus, your way of loving or wanting to be loved or what you value or, that's in the 8th house. That's Scorpio. Your Venus, your way of loving is already Scorpio, completely. It's like there's a flavor of a conjunction to Pluto with that. So his Pluto being in the 9th house is going to have a little bit, since it's ruling Sagittarius, it's going to have a little bit of a trine flavor to your Venus because your Venus is in Aries. So there's a little bit of, getting each other about those, ways of looking at it. You have to look at that too, not just, Pluto in Scorpio and how he relates to you. It's not going to just be Scorpio Pluto-ish. It's going to have a flavor of wisdom and like, how do we do this? That's wisdom. So I don't know personally, because you have to know the actual just psychology of the two individuals. And every last detail is probably not going to be in the astrology natal chart, even though a lot of it can be, because there's personality disorder traits and emotional disorder traits and so forth that you have to know about. Because I strongly think that each individual on this planet is going to have some kind of trait about them of this or that or the other thing. Not necessarily a whole personality disorder, but just at least one trait here and there. Sometimes because kind of is the way people are, So you have to keep that in mind when you are relating to each other. And from what you said, you already know what sesquiquadrate means. So anyway. But, so I don't know how you two individually are to each other. An outsider looking in on the situation is going to be the composite chart, not the synastry. I'm going to see the composite chart, which is the fate of the two people. The two people as one, relating to each other, experiencing the same thing. That's the fate of the two people. The synastry is the everyday relating, which is more of the choices on how you individually relate to each other. So they're completely two different things. So if I looked at your synastry composite chart and all that stuff, I could elaborate on this one aspect even more, because that's what you really need to do if you're really interested in knowing what's going on with you two. So just individually and about this aspect though, like I said, the Sagittarius, all of it, there's going to be different parts of Sagittarius flavoring this aspect. It's not just going to be him being Scorpio-ish. It's you a lot being Scorpio-ish. Because of your Venus being in the 8th house, the Scorpio house. So you need to keep in mind what you're doing, and he needs to, know what he's doing. Obviously you need to know what each other is all about too, but I tell all of my clients and fans and whoever else that wants to know about, whatever work I do for people, you control you. Controlling how much you do or which way you do that is Pluto. So you need to make sure you're controlling you, deciding how you relate to him. You don't decide how he relates to you and vice versa. So he's going to have a flavor of wisdom and happy-go-lucky whatever to him, to his Pluto and Scorpio. Not just Scorpio crap or the good parts of Scorpio happening. So, first of all, the different parts of this example is not the main focus here of what I'm going to tell you, but just the kind of the example of how this can happen, or what sesquiquadrate means more, is what you need to think about here about Pluto. So it's like a driver and a horse, and the driver's like, let's go that way, pulling on the reins, and the horse is trying to go that way, That's the example. One example I could give of sesquiquadrate. So it's not the blinders, like, that's nothing to do with it because people aren't that way. But the sesquiquadrate, as you already showed, you know what that means. You're going to both have to communicate and take turns with the aspect and understand each other. You don't tell him what to do. You don't be the driver, and he doesn't need to be the driver more. You need to both do both parts equally and not boss each other around. So you're going to have to know that whenever the sesquiquadrate in itself, what it means is that you have to plan again, as you already know. So whenever you're saying, let's go that way or whatever, you're going to have to not make it be about you so much, wanting him to do what your plan is. The first plan and then the second plan. The second plan being if it works out between you. The second plan being the better plan that works out how you're relating to each other. That whole planning thing is the sesquiquadrate. So the plan that you have, for relating to each other, I don't know all the details, obviously, but I'm just saying as a general rule, you both have to keep in mind that you don't micromanage the other person. You only manage yourself. So you managing yourself in the second planning, that's going to work out better between you if it does. That's up to you to decide how you relate to the person, not how they're going to relate to you. So that could be part of it. Pluto is that, wanting to micromanage the other person and not do that to yourself so much. So I don't know how that is, but that's something to keep in mind, obviously. So you have to keep in mind all the different parts of what information you gave me. So, like I said, well, first of all, whenever you're saying let's go that way, you have to make it so you are relating to the other person in such a way that the second plan is going to be that the other person wants to relate to you about how you're relating to that person, and vice versa, both of you doing that. You're going to have to make it so that person wants to relate to you. The second better plan that you have of relating to each other, you can't do the first plan over and over and over again and say, okay, it's going to work this time if we're doing it the same way, because it's not going to. So you're going to have to say, let's go that way, but you're going to have to make it so that the person understands you and wants to do that. And then the other person is going to have to do their part in the plan, the second plan, in a way that makes you want to relate to them. So you can work together and make that second plan work. You see what I'm saying? You can't make it be about the first plan the whole time and, whatever, because it's not going to work that way. So, like I said, the situation you have about this aspect is not Pluto, it's sesquiquadrate. It's not about Pluto, it's about Pluto and Venus. His Pluto in the 9th house is not going to be more Pluto-ish, it's going to be more wisdom. Your Venus in the 8th house is going to be more Pluto-ish and more inner demon stuff, more controlling stuff. So you have to keep that in mind. From what you asked me, his Pluto being in the 9th house is not going to be the bigger problem from what I can tell with the information you gave me, because I don't have all the information I need to know to tell you more details of who's going to be doing what more. Because it could be that he's more Pluto-ish, but maybe you are. But from what I know, you are the Venus and Aries person from the information you gave me. if that's not actually true and you're being honest and you know that you're not, or you're both equal, then that's fine. But from the information you gave me, he's not the Pluto-ish person you are. So from the question you asked me, this is the answer. He's not the Pluto thing happening you are. And the main thing that you need to keep in mind is that sesquiquadrate is running the show. Pluto is not running the show. It's not either planet that runs the show. It's the aspect. So you must keep that in mind when you're relating to each other, because you're going to get all Pluto-ish in your minds even more if you make it be about one thing or the other, and it's not. I mean, obviously Pluto is always going to be Pluto, but like I said, the aspect is what you have to keep in mind. It is the thing running the show, not the planets. Your decisions run the show, but sesquiquadrate does even more because it's the aspect. No matter what aspect it is, that's what runs the show. So the needing to have the second plan that works better if you want to make decisions and how you relate to each other, that's going to be what this is all about. So your Venus in Aries being like, snappy, like, let's do it now my way, that kind of a love nature, that's going to be a little bit of more of a Pluto thing happening, seeming that way. Aries is the baby of the zodiac, astrologically speaking, so it's not ruled by Pluto or anything. It's Aries and Scorpio, or Aries and Pluto, or whatever, is not related, really. So that's not really, Venus in Aries isn't really Pluto-ish, but there is a little bit of a babyish kind of a Pluto thing happening with me first, which is Aries. This isn't about you specifically, what I'm talking about, because I don't know anything about you specifically. I'm talking about Venus and Aries. That's what it means. So your Venus in Aries being that way in the 8th house is going to be having an issue with controlling, doing it my way. My way is Aries. But how much you control, that's, controlling is Pluto in the 8th house, or Pluto is the 8th house. I mean, Venus being in the 8th house. So your Venus wanting to do things my way now, yesterday, that's what Aries is all about. And having that inner demons flavor to it. There's more to the 8th house than Pluto and Scorpio than just, controlling and jealousy and inner demons and bringing up crap. It's being able to deal with things that other people don't want to deal with, and it's other people's resources, and, it's about sex and, the two people, like how they relate to each other, if there's anything blocking that or not, or, whatever, those kinds of things. So your Venus having that 8th house flavor to it, that Pluto Scorpio flavor to it, is going to really make you really Scorpio-ish. It's not going to make him that way. It's you, Venus, an Aries person, that is that way. So you're individually going to have to take a step back and say, okay, let's see your way too, not just my way, my Aries way. And I have Aries in my birth chart, so I know what I'm talking about. And I'm exactly like that in my own whatever planet or whatever else it is, in Aries. So it's not that I'm saying this about you individually. I'm just saying this about Aries. That's just is what it is. So you're going to have to make your Aries Venus take a step back for this replanning and say, maybe we could do it his way too, not just my way. Because Venus in Aries doesn't want to do it any other person's way. They just don't. They want to do it their way. And like I said, now we're yesterday, and that's all there is to it. And Venus in Aries anywhere in the birth chart has a tendency to be, like babyish and snappy, like, and get over things quickly too, also. But the other person might not be. I don't know. But, you have to keep that in mind too, because, and with the cardinal, Aries being that way, you want to initiate things. That's what Aries is doing, It's like the boss of the situation. And Scorpio doesn't back down either. In its own Pluto and Mars kind of a way. They both co-rule Scorpio. So, but definitely Pluto rules Scorpio more. So Pluto and Scorpio is not going to want to back down and give in to your Aries bossiness. So, and like, maybe you know, maybe you don't know. I don't know what you know about this, but Scorpio is a lie detector and can get to the deep, subjects of things. And, if there's any amount of you saying, no, I'm not Aries, Scorpio is going to be like, yeah, you actually are being that way. So, or, the other way around, if you're doing that to him or, whatever, you're going to have to, keep that in mind also. But, so, no, Pluto is not going to be the biggest issue in this. It's the sesquiquadrate. If he's any amount of Scorpio-ish or Pluto-ish, then you're both equally matched. If he is a lot, because you are definitely. It's not him that's the problem, from what information you gave me anyway. So, his Pluto being in the 9th house is going to give it a little bit of him having the wisdom to plan the second better plan, You could take charge as the Venus and Aries person and say, make it happen or, whatever. But in that case, his Pluto being in a little bit of a situation where it's a trying kind of a feel to it because his Pluto's in the 9th house. You're going to get along about that situation then. But it's going to be sesquiquadrate. It's going to be that you need to plan the second thing, second plan better than the first. And it's not going to be all about Pluto. It's going to be about Venus too. It's going to have a lot of a Pluto flavor because of the fact that your Venus is in the Pluto house, the Scorpio 8th house. So it's, like I said, it's not going to be all him. But you're going to have to, keep that all in mind about yourself when you're relating to each other. About your question to me, it's not going to be him being the bigger Pluto person necessarily. Because as long as you are really Pluto-ish, then if he is, you're equally matched. There's, you even if one of you goes back and forth having Pluto issues of being controlled or controlling, you're both gonna eventually figure it out and get on the same page about being equally matched, about having egos and Pluto issues. Because as long as you have the same amount of Pluto in you, in yourselves individually, you definitely are equally matched. So, you need to keep that in mind also. So, but about the, what else I wanted to say. It's gonna be like Venus is financial matters and what you value, and the 5 senses are in beauty. Obviously, it's love, but it's what you value. In this situation, I think you need to keep that in mind more not just how you want to be loved, but what you value as an individual. Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus. So you have a little bit of a, when you're talking about each planet, what it rules, you're always going to have that zodiac sign flavor to it, but, in an Aries way. So Taurus and Libra combined, there's a little bit of difficult and easy aspects to Sagittarius and Scorpio, his Pluto and Scorpio in the 9th house. So there's going to be a mix of things happening there. So with your Venus and his Pluto. So it's going to be like this second planning's going to be about, who does the controlling more or less or equal, and also about the values of you and, the 5 senses and how you do your Venus, which is in Aries way, which is the baby of the zodiac, like I said, and the boss and the, me zodiac sign. So it's going to be like, if you want to do this, one of the 5 senses, shopping or tasting or restaurants or, music or whatever, whatever you do it for pleasure about the 5 senses, Venus, you're going to have to, like I said, make it so that your Venus in Aries is, communicating and relating to him, that horse example that I gave, so that he wants to be a part of what you want to do, and he's going to have to do that also. You're going to have to work together to make this plan happen, the second plan. Because when it's sesquiquadrate, whether it's the second or the first plan happening, it's all about planning. So you're doing some planning here, and it's about Venus and Pluto issues. But you're going to have to make the 2 planets come together and find some common ground of what you have in common, which is a little bit of a difficult thing to do with just the planet.